Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I don't even know what you want to call this. GFHL weekly preview, weekly review, I guess you could call it for now. We're going to try to do this every couple weeks. Put out a video, talk about the league, talk about some of the players, talk about some of the GMs in the league, what they're up to, what moves they're making, who's doing what. So, as you can see, I'm on the Western team roster page here. This has been updated as of tonight, so everything should be good. Sorry about the fly there. Been trying to kill this fly for the last couple of days. It's been brutal. Um, anyways, I'm losing the battle with the fly for sure. Definitely losing the battle. Been trying. Don't really have a fly swatter here, but we're trying to make do. I think tonight I can get them. But anyway, back to the real business of hand here. The GFHL. We are done week 4, guys, and I'm going to try to show you guys. There you go. Show you the standings here. Um, I do also want to touch base on a couple of new additions that I've been trying to just see if they would work out on an experiment basis. If the guys like them, then we'll continue doing it. If not, then we can get rid of it. But I figured it's a little neat additions to a couple of pages. But after week 4, looking at the standings here, and we do have a new leader up top. The Flames, Calgary, Jason, 10-1-1, tied with Nashville, 10-1-1. And Utah 9-2-1. Utah is the top team still in office pools, 2184, ahead of the Leafs, Oilers, Wild, and Islanders. Um, but as you guys know, this is a head-to-head league, and right now Utah finds themselves in third spot. Utah just lost a key match to Toronto, which we will go over. That was the GFHL, or should I say Mo Dinky's match of the week last week, and it was a good one. Toronto was the team runner-up for most points during the week, and Utah was not far behind them. But right now we got the Flames, Calgary, and we got Nashville, Brett's Predators, and Jason's Flames going neck and neck here. As you can see, the West is pretty strong up top. You've got LA and Minnesota and Seattle all with strong records right now. And the Islanders in the East holding strong. I believe they were 5th in OP, but first in the East. Greg and his Islanders are on a heater here to start the year. Um, let's go over the new additions first before we get too involved in the standings here. I mean, we could talk about a bunch of teams in the West that are probably going to be struggling throughout the year. I don't expect too many teams to really be in this fight for these last couple spots. I think Vegas is going to be one of them. I do think Chicago is going to be in that fight. Winnipeg is definitely going to be in that fight. I don't know about the rest of these teams here. Colorado, Anaheim, Dallas, St. Louis, San Jose, and Vancouver. All 6 of these teams are rebuilding as we speak. And as you can see in the overall standings here, they comprise 6 teams. They comprise 6 of the bottom 8, with Carolina and Columbus in the East with them as well. We got Talon's Canucks down here at 1-9-2, 4 points, dead last in the GFHL after 4 weeks. The rebuild in Vancouver never seems to end. You'll have to talk to Mr. Talon McGraw to find out what his plan here with the Canucks is. But right now, the future looks bleak, although they do have a bunch of young, exciting players. It's just a matter of getting these guys in the lineup and contributing real GFHL points. We'll get back into the standings here in a little bit, but I do want to touch base first off on a couple of the new additions, see what you guys think. The first addition is the waiver wire. This is updated as of tonight. So you've got 5 guys on the waiver wire. The only difference here is I've decided to, give you a little more info here of who released them. So as you can see, Brett Howden got released today by Tim and Anaheim. So I just put released by Anaheim on there, and I put the date. So the date's always been there. The players have always been here in their positions. It's just really a matter of who released them. In terms of relevant info, I don't know if that's relevant at all. Probably not. But it gives you a little more info into maybe who's active and who is making moves and who is inactive, not making moves. Obviously, we're in a 32 team fantasy league. We do want to see guys making moves here. So I thought that was a little addition that might help. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second here. Try and okay. Yeah, so the waiver wire, that's a bit new. What I've done with the transactions, no, it didn't show up. I did have it here where it said claims Arvid Soderblom off waivers from Edmonton, or from whoever he was on. Oh, here it is right here. Yeah, sorry. So it says instead of just claims Philip Tomasino off waivers, I put Edmonton on there. I do need to change this, obviously. I need to put the forward over here, and I should put claims Soderblom off waivers from, I believe it was Calgary. I will fix that after the video here. So yeah, so that just a little more info again on who's going where. I figure we do that for trades. We show who's going where. Obviously, it might be kind of cool to track it with the players. So I'll try and do that when I'm updating. The next thing that I wanted to show you guys is the schedule. What we've done, I don't know if a lot of guys have taken a look at this page, but we do update it every week with the results. So the first 3 weeks, as you can see here, you just got the normal, Calgary wins 3-0, Utah wins 3-0, Detroit wins 2-1, that sort of thing. I thought maybe, we're in 2024 now. I mean, a lot of people like to have info numbers right in front of you just to do some number crunching. So what I've done is I have included the records of each team for each week. So this is last week's records. So Utah 8-0-1 versus Toronto 5-3-1. That was the match of the week. And as you can see, 579 to 546.25. So what I've done is I've added records. So now instead of just Edmonton versus Utah, Anaheim versus Dallas, now you've got Edmonton 4-4-1, Boston 5-4, tied 1-1-1, and then here's the office pool points, the result 477.25 to 471.5. I just thought it was a little better information. That way you guys can come here and see each week who did what. I kind of like it. I don't mind doing it. It takes a little extra time, obviously, but if you guys like watching that or seeing that, then we will keep doing it. Next up, Again, we've got the updated records from last week's results. These are the current records for each team. And what I've done is each week I will pick a match of the week. Last week it was Utah against Toronto. I don't know if anybody saw that on the schedule page, but Utah Toronto was the matchup. This week we have Calgary versus LA, the defending champs, the Kings, going up against the top team in the GFHL right now in the Flames. Obviously, that should be a really good matchup. Mo Dinky's match of the week. For those of you who might not know who Mo Dinky is, Mo Dinky is, I should say, a GFHL reporter. Sometimes makes a odd appearance here and there. Over the years, he's done a couple draft videos. I think they're still on the Facebook page. If you guys want to scroll down and check out the videos on our group, you guys can probably see a little bit of Mo. Mo knows. Mo knows. So anyway, we're gonna have a little fun with this, guys. It's gonna be Mo Dinky's match of the week. Gonna put a little more attention on these big time matchups because really, I mean, who wants to? No offense, Simon. No offense, Talon. But you guys are two rebuilding teams. Nobody wants to watch Dallas, Vancouver. You'd have probably about 5,000 fans in the stands watching that. Again, you've got Columbus, Gin against the Rangers. Franny, 3-9 versus 4-7-1. Two rebuilding teams, and the fly is on my laptop right there. Let me get this fly. Okay, so again, there's another little example of what we're doing. We're trying to improve things as we go. So hopefully you guys will take a look at this page and check it out. Yeah, there weren't too many sweeps last week. The only two teams that swept were Paul and his Wild, who were the team of the week. Congrats, Paul, on that. 630.75 GS points, or office pool points, whatever you want to call them. Buffalo actually had a pretty good week, 418.5. But again, in the head-to-head format, he just ran into the Jacob just ran into the wrong team at the wrong time, and Minnesota gets the sweep there. Greg and his Islanders also swept Colorado. Took down Shannon's team. Obviously, you can see by quite handily, 529.25 to 281.75. We did have 1, 2, 3. We had 3 ties this past week. Anaheim and the Rangers. Tim and Franny tied 306.25 to 302.75. You also had Neil and Ryan. Seattle 7-2. Ryan at 4-5 with his Devils. Tied 1-1-1. Another close one there, 313.25 to 309. And then you got Edmonton, my team, 4-4-1 against Wally's Bruins, 5-4. And we also tied 1-1-1. 477.25 to 471.5. So that was a pretty good match. Most of the time when you're, as you can see here, when you've got 471 points, you're usually going to win the week. But sometimes you do run into stronger teams. And usually 546 points by Utah is good enough to win a week. So unfortunate loss there. But that's what it takes to take down these good teams. You're going to have to put up the points, and you need players to put up those points. So again, I like just looking at this and saying, okay, well, again, Boston 471, that probably would have been good enough to wipe out most teams. But here he gets 1-1-1. So it's kind of cool to see. This week coming up, we have, I do want to touch on a couple more here before we get into that. Just looking at this here. Mike and his Blues coming in at 1-7-1. Having a little bit of a tough time this year. I think he's dead last in office pools right now. But he comes out with a big win over Gin's Blue Jackets, 2-1. And Dallas, Simon gets his first weekly win of the year, beating Carolina. I believe that's Blake in control of Carolina. There's too many McGraws, man. I don't. I think it's Blake. Sorry, Blake, but yeah. Dallas takes that one down, 304.25 to 256. So heading into this week, we've got some good matchups. We've got San Jose, Chicago, not the marquee matchup, but Chicago just took down Washington. Chicago had a big win last week, 2-0-1, 406 GS points. Fiddy's Blackhawks starting to maybe heat up a little bit, taking on the Sharks and Phil. Phil's a bit of a rebuild going on there with the Sharks this year. So we'll see what happens there. My team, the Oilers, another tough week. We start out. We've had a rough start to our year, as you can see, 5-5-2. We take on Brett and the Predators, 10-1-1. Vegas 6-6, Anaheim 3-7-2. Utah and Minnesota, that'll be a good match between Gary and Paul, 9-2-1, 8-3-1. Again, you've got the match of the week. We already talked about that. Other key matchups here. Philly and Buffalo should be a good one. Buffalo, again, unfortunately got swept there by Paul, but Buffalo's a pretty decent team up against the upcoming Philly Flyers. Kaprizov crushing it for the Flyers. I know if you look back in the league history, I know you can't look at past trades over a year, but I did make a trade with Jeff and his Flyers a couple of years ago to get McDavid, but I also gave up Kaprizov in that deal, and Kaprizov is looking mighty good at the moment. You got Carolina at Toronto. That should be an easy win for Kevin. His Leafs have been the team runner-up for the past 2 weeks for most points in the weekly office pool. Columbus and the Rangers, Tampa Bay, Detroit, that could be a good one. Pittsburgh and New Jersey, Islanders and Florida, Montreal and Washington. Washington off to a rough start here. Ed's got to get his guys going. And he was talking to Ed a little bit today, and he did say that his team's been sleepwalking this year. So we'll have to see what's going on with the Capitals if they can turn things around here. Looking at the current transactions, we only had a few moves come in over the weekend and today. Anaheim claims Philip Tomasino off waivers from Edmonton, releasing Brett Howden. So Tomasino was a guy I got from Marty in Vegas there. I think I touched on that in my first video a little bit. I needed an NHL player to fill a spot in my roster. Tomasino has not been that guy this year. He's had 4 games played, nothing to show for it, -2. I feel like Sam Mitchell and the Raptors, they're guys putting stat lines of 0, 0, 0, 0. If you, one of my favorite clips of all time, if you guys want to check it out, it's probably on YouTube. Just Sam Mitchell zeros, and it'll come up. I mean, yes, Nashville is a good team. He's shown he can score in the past. So what happened was I was offering Tomasino around to some of the teams in the league because obviously the guy can score. 32 points his rookie season. Then he gets 18 and 31. He splits the year between the NHL and the AHL. AHL, he dominates. Comes back last year, same thing. AHL dominates. NHL, he's a half a point per game player in the NHL. 70 points in 152 games. The guy can score. was talking to Tim about it after. We were trying to work out a deal for Tomasino, but I wanted to go and grab a player right away, so I released Tomasino. And yeah, he's young, 23 years old. He's a player that Tim can wait on and be patient with, whereas I really can't. I'm up near the top there. I'm trying to get my team ready to possibly take the cup home this year. But we'll see where I'm at later on in the year. I decided to go grab Tanner Pearson just because he was putting up points now. Maybe Tomasino needs to get traded out of Nashville. I don't know. Maybe Burnett doesn't really like him. I've heard some rumblings there of Burnett not really liking his defensive game and his effort level every night. So maybe he gets moved, or maybe he turns it around. Maybe they send him back down to Milwaukee. I don't know if he has to clear waivers or not. I'm sure he does at this point. He's probably not waiver exempt, so he would get claimed, I would imagine. So he's kind of like a Nick Roberts on the Leafs. What do you do with this guy? We'll see what happens. Brett Howden got released, so he's on the waiver wire. Marty signs Taylor Radish, releasing Liam O'Brien. Kevin responds with signing Nick Dowd and releasing Oliver Kapanen. The training camp standout for the Habs gets released. And Dan in Montreal, actually, he makes a couple moves here right before the deadline today for moves, signing Trevor Van Riemsdyk and claiming Arvid Soderblom off waivers from Calgary, releasing Mike Riley and Klim Kostin. So Arvid Soderblom is a guy I was looking at. I almost put a claim in for him. We'll check him out quickly here. Because he's an interesting guy. I mean, he obviously played over in Sweden, had some pretty solid seasons. Comes over to North America, puts up a solid season in the AHL. Then comes right into Chicago, and it's tough to evaluate, right? I mean, Chicago is obviously they're pretty bad. Starting to get a little better, but they're still bad. I mean, what it's hard to judge this guy. Has he got skills? I mean, you look at these stats here, and it looks like okay, he probably could be putting up good stats on a good team, and there's a reason why he's played 53 games already. Obviously, Chicago sees something in him. Maybe he is just a placeholder until some of their other goalie prospects can come up. Camesso is one guy that comes to mind. I think Adam Gajan is another guy in the Blackhawks system that they probably want to have a good look at. But so maybe he is a placeholder for a couple years. But 927 save percentage in 3 games on the Blackhawks. I know it's a small sample size. Obviously, he's not going to be able to keep that up, but way better than his 886 for the NHL career. Maybe he is starting to figure it out a little bit. We're definitely worth a chance. I mean, I'm a little surprised that Jason released him. But then, Jason's got a bunch of goalies already, so he probably figured he doesn't really need Soderblom. But I just thought that was pretty curious. I was looking at him as well. I probably would have picked him up had it not been for picking up Eric Comrie. I picked up Eric Comrie near the end of October when I signed Tanner Pearson the other day. Yeah, so it was either Comrie or probably Soderblom. Yeah, I see Calgary released him here. Not too many trades lately to really analyze. As you can see, you've got some familiar names on here. I was a little surprised Brendan Dillon got released by Tom. I know there were a few claims in for Mr. Dillon. I was one of them. I will admit I tried to get Brendan Dillon off waivers, and For those of you who might not realize how waivers works, uh, Monday and Thursday the waiver wire gets updated. As it says here, the player listed below have been released and can be picked up within 48 hours. The team with the lower record will have first chance. So that is this year's current records, and it does go by actual record. It doesn't go by OP standings, it goes by your actual win-loss record. If you guys are tied, say there's two teams tied with the exact same record that put a claim on a player, then it does go to OP. But so you'd have to go into the standings and say, okay, well, say Colorado and New Jersey put in a claim for one player. Well, obviously Colorado would get it since they have the lower record. So that's just how it goes for the waiver wire. In case anybody was wondering, I don't know if you guys were aware of that. So keep that in mind when you are making waiver claims. Carter George, OHL goalie prospect, I believe, out of Owen Sound. He is LA Kings prospect. We'll see if he can make Canada World Junior team. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about these. I'm not going to talk about some of these guys. It's not really worth it. We did have one trade come in. Toronto continues to make moves. Hildeby just gets picked up from Anaheim. Hildeby moves his suitcases and his family to Ottawa for Brent Burns. Interesting deal here. I know Dennis Hildeby, the goalie from the Leafs. Played in 2 games this year. Has not, the stats aren't great. Again, small sample size. He's been good in the AHL, and he's big. He's 6'7", 224. He's filling up the net. So again, Steve in Ottawa looking to get a little younger. As you can see, Ottawa is about they're 19th, so they're about middle to lower pack in the office pools. They're kind of right on the cusp of a playoff spot. Look at the standings; they're 5-6-1. Is Burns going to make a huge difference? Yeah, Burns might help them get to the playoffs, but again, do you really want to be a team in the middle part here year after year? Not really too sure where you're going to be, whether you're going to be a contender or drop down as a rebuilder. You always have these teams in the middle. You wonder what they're doing. I think Ottawa is looking to maybe rebuild his roster a little bit. Looking at his roster, he's got Grebionkin, the Leaf prospect. He's got Hildeby, another Leaf prospect. I don't know if Steve's a Leaf fan, but he is accumulating a couple of younger guys. But as you can see here, his roster is getting pretty old. Not too many younger type players in the roster, so he may be a team to watch moving forward. Not too sure what he's doing with Blake Wheeler. I don't even know if Blake Wheeler's playing. He is. I don't know. Might be a guy you're looking to get rid of there, Steve-O. What else can we talk about here? What else we got? Let's go over the LA Calgary match before we wrap this up. Again, guys, if you're not too familiar with office pools, I have been playing around a little bit with the reports. And it's actually really neat, some of the reports you can run off of office pools. Definitely helps when searching for players. Definitely helps sort out some stuff. And I'll be using it for sure. to try to. Well, I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to say too much in this video, but try to get a little bit of an advantage, maybe perhaps on some player signings. Uh, but if you have time, I definitely suggest you guys play around with this, try some stuff out, see what happens. This button here, I'll go over it again. This button here, legend button, it's pretty straightforward. It'll give you all the different reports. So it says points behind leader, points last month. If you click that, it'll change it. I'm sure everybody knows about that. You can see how many games missed that you've had. So right now, St. Louis leading the league with 107 games missed, followed by Carolina, Dallas, New Jersey, Columbus, and Washington. Obviously, to be a top team, you're going to have guys not missing games. Simple as that, guys. Simple as that. The teams that are near the top are the teams that have players that are playing in the league and accumulating points. Not rocket science. Obviously, the rebuilders are going to have some prospects on their teams that aren't contributing. It's understandable. But I was talking to Ryan about this the other day, New Jersey, Ryan, and he was getting a little frustrated with his team. And I said to him, I said, well, I guess he's expecting some of these guys to start contributing more than they have, and that's just, unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation, right? When you're dealing with prospects, some of these guys are going to turn out, some of them aren't, and it's a matter of trying to keep the ones that you think are going to turn out and try to trade some of the ones that you might not pan out. And it's tough. I mean, it's not it's not a it's not an exact science. You're going to trade guys that you regret. You're going to make moves that you regret, but you're also going to make moves that work out great. So you got to take both into consideration. My personal opinion, I would like to see some of these bottom teams start to move up a little bit over the course of the next couple of years. I know it's tough. It's tough being a rebuilder, but at some point you do have to cut bait on certain guys or try and move them for NHL players or try to be a little more competitive. But I mean, I get it. I've been there too. It's not an easy thing to do to stay patient and wait on these guys. Okay, what I do want to do before we end it here is I do want to. We'll go over last week's Utah-Toronto match. So Toronto took it down. Martin Necas, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. This is why I'm not an announcer on the NHL games. Necas. Let's go with Necas. I guess Netchcash anyway. Netchcash, Necas. He had a huge week. 18 points in 10 games for the Leafs. Probably playing a little over his head right now. Let's take a look at his hockey DB page. And yeah, he's definitely playing over his head. He did have 71 points in 82 games a couple years back, but I mean, I don't expect him to stay this hot, but he could have a 80 point season, maybe a point per game player. He's talent. He's that talented. And he's going into his prime here, 24, 25, 26. Those are prime years for these guys. Who else? Sergachev was good. Brandon Hagel, Connor McMichael, Sandin, some of these unheralded guys in Washington, right? McMichael and Sandin coming through. Dylan Genther, Hughes, Power. So he had a team effort here. Only Nemec was the only guy who really didn't do anything. Hoffer, he was terrible. He had -1. But look, he's got a team effort here. couple of these guys you just added. You just added Nick Dowd today. Obviously traded for Burns, so he's got a couple new faces in the lineup. Sergachev, I like Sergachev in Utah. I think that was a great trade for them. Uh, Again, I never really knew how offensive this guy could be. I always thought maybe he was holding something back in Tampa, um, and maybe we're starting to see it come through a little bit more in Utah. There, that was a huge pickup in the offseason for them, and Sergachev is proving to be quite the player here. Hagel honestly is he's like one of my favorite players in the league. He's just underrated. I mean, I don't know if you guys have taken a look at what he's done over the last couple seasons, but Brandon Hagel is a guy who does not get the recognition he really deserves. I know he's in Tampa, he's playing on good teams, but you know, comes through Chicago relatively quickly. Only 67 games in the AHL, then he breaks into the NHL, and he starts scoring right away. He's got 24 points in 52 games, and he puts up 21 goals the next year. And then, and then at the deadline, I think, or right before the deadline, he gets traded to Tampa. Here I am thinking this guy could be a guy that Chicago builds around, and I guess they just decided to move on from him. And he took a little while to get going with the Lightning, new player, new team. But the last couple of years, it's just been unreal. 75 points last year, 64 the year before, and he's got 14 and 12 right now. So he's definitely a guy that is on the rise. He should get around 70 again this year, I would think. And you don't really hear about him. No one really talks about him. So yeah, good week by Toronto. If you look at his total points, two guys that we've talked about already leading the way. Adrian Kempe, another great player. He's having a good year. Suzuki. So this is a strong team. He's got Stolars and Net, who I don't think anybody really expected this out of Stolars, but he is definitely benefiting from that. Quinn Hughes, he's been okay. 9 points in 10 games. But just I'm expecting a little more. I think Hughes can put up some. He's on pace for 74, which is obviously great. Look at the shots, 328 shots from a defenseman. That is like on pace. That is insane. That is insane. All right, let's go to Utah. Top team in office pools. Let's talk about the Utah Hockey Club. He's got to change his logo here. He's still got the Coyotes old logo on there. Last week, Jake Wallman, of all guys. Jake Wallman put up 76 points. Look at this. Look at what he's doing in San Jose. This could be the league's best kept secret right now. 9 points in 13 games, 35 shots on net, 16 hits, 22 blocks. Who's been talking about this guy? No one's been talking about this guy. He's on pace for 57, 56, 57 points. No one's been talking about this guy. I haven't heard anybody talking about this guy in the GTA. Jake Wallman from Toronto, too. I don't expect him to continue that pace, but, he is an offensive defenseman. San Jose is struggling. Again, they're going to be in for a long season. This guy's going to get a lot of ice time. He's probably going to, again, and we talked about plus minus the last couple videos. Anybody want to guess what his plus minus is? I'm going to minus 10. Oh, he's plus 2. Even better. Look at that, plus 2. Wow, one of the only Sharks plus 2. Well, we talked about Thrun in the last video. 12 games, 1 assist, -9. Mr. Thrun might need to be sent back to the AHL for some seasoning. They got the old devil goalies, Blackwood and Vanacek. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you. Obviously, getting Macklin Celebrini back. Interesting that they've got him as Mac Celebrini. I guess does he not want to be Macklin anymore? And Will Smith's on there, so we'll see. It's gonna be another long year for these guys. But Wallman, that's very surprising. I'm shocked by that. I know he was doing okay, but didn't think he was top point guy last week on Utah. Svechnikov, Wilson, Markstrom, Toffoli, Matthews, O'Reilly, Middleton, Trouba, Lowry, Pietrangelo. Going into the team leaders, Markstrom leading the way. He's been playing better lately. Devils should have beat the Flames the other night. They stunk the bed out. Eichel, Svechnikov, Wilson, Matheson. Yeah, Marchment. Yeah, easy to see why these guys are in first. No real weaknesses on the team. He does have a couple injuries again, Sagan and Samsonov right now. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Oh well. Guys, let's get on the trade front here. Let's make some trades. Give me something to talk about here. Not gonna get into my guys. I mean, everybody knows Tanner Pearson. He's a veteran guy. Hopefully, he can put up some points. Eric Comrie. Right now, he's the backup to Hellebuck in Winnipeg. He has played in Winnipeg before and put up some good stats, so I thought I'd take a chance on him. That's all there is to that. GFHL Weekly also gets updated. These are your leaders, your weekly leaders every week. This gets updated, so have a look. Maybe one of your guys will be on here one week. Team of the week, Paul. Runner up, Kevin. Lamp lighter of the week for defense was Brandon Montour from Marty's Golden Knights with 85 points. Lamp lighter of the week forward, Alex Ovechkin, 94.25 points. Fists of Fury for the week, the enforcer spot. Alexei Protas, 64.5 points from the New York Rangers. Protas was a draft pick in this past draft by the Rangers. And Masked Man of the Week goes to Samuel Urson with 76.25 points from the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Congratulations to Tim, Franny, Paul, and Marty on the awards. And again, congrats to Kevin and Paul on their weekly totals. I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. Again, I just wanted to touch base with you guys. I'm trying to make some improvements or add some little things here to our rosters to make it a little more enjoyable. I know some teams have head coaches, some don't. I know that the head coach really doesn't make a difference, but it's kind of cool to see some of the names on here. Brian Rafalski, head coach of the Devils. Bob Probert, coach in the Red Wings. Patrick Waugh, of course, back in with the Habs. You got Cam Ward here, coach in Blake's Hurricanes. Love it. Billy Smith, coach in Greg's Islanders. Get some names from the past: Rod Langway, Vinny LeCavalier, Tom Barrasso. Like I love this kind of stuff. I know it doesn't make a difference, but it's kind of cool to bring back a legend like Marion Gaborik, who was original Wild with Paul, Wayne Gretzky with the Oilers, Mike Fisher coaching the Predators, Mike Ricci coaching the Shark. Mike Ricci, wow, love it. Jeremy Roenick, like I love it. Like so, you guys, if you guys want to grab a like maybe Talon goes and gets Pavel Bure to coach the Canucks. Uh, Kyle, Winnipeg Jets, brings back Timu Solani coaching the Jets. Be kind of cool to see that. Um, so that's going to be it for this week, boys. I am going to try to kill this fly. Hopefully, wish me luck. But again, guys, if you guys have any comments or anything like that, feel free. We do have all the pages on here on the side. I do encourage you guys to familiarize yourselves with most of these pages. At least take a look at them every now and then, but especially the standings, the waiver wire, the schedule, and the transactions. Those are the big ones. Obviously, the database too. The database again did get updated today with the Riley and Costin releases, so everything should be good. Any issues, let us know. We will be happy to help you guys out. Okay, that's it for this week, and I'll be back maybe next week with another video. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.